Brought to you by Bowling Green Refrigeration, Heating and Cooling and Renegade Marine and Outdoor Center with your host, Brian Webb. Also starring John Kirby and Sergeant J.D. Williams from Mohawk Outdoors. Josh Honeycutt from Realtree Outdoors. Also made possible by Swagger Bipods. Gary Force Paint and Body Shop. J&K Used Cars on the Bypass. Segments in part by Big & J Long Range Attractants, our national sponsor, and Renegade Marine. Also featuring Realtree's Michael Pendley Small Game Recipes from Realtree Outdoors, Timber 2 Table, Wild Game Recipes, sponsored by Tetra Hearing Devices. Get your edge back and hear the hunt. And all phone interviews via the Line X of Bowling Green hotline. Get ready for all things outdoors. Here's your host, Brian Webb.
Really came around the corner at the nickel slots, and there he sat in his denim jacket.
Classic.
All bedazzled up on the back.
Classic.
I bet Michael Pendley's got one. Line X Hotline, Timber to Table, brought to you by Tetra Hearing. Hear the hunt. Ear protection doesn't have to suck. Go to their website. You can do an ear test right there, a hearing test right on the website. They can gear your stuff up. John Kirby's got a pair right now. He's loving them, and we'll talk to John later on at the bottom of the hour. He's on assignment today, so Josh will be in shortly. But let's get to our man, Michael Pendley. What's up, dude?
How's it going?
Man, I'm doing good, and I kind of like it when I don't know what you're going to be serving tonight because I get excited because I feel like a listener. I'm getting to hear it for the first time. A lot of times I'll ask you. But, I mean, I saw you. Let's talk a little bit first about your noodling trip, man. Great pics of that. Tell us about that trip.
Yeah, we were finally able to get down and hook up with some buddies that we always go with, and had really great weather for it last Sunday. It was a little slower than what they'd been doing, but we still did pretty well. I think we ended up catching 5, anywhere from 15 to about 50 pounds. Had 3 or 4 get away. Kept one for the dinner table, released all the rest of them. So it was a good day. Kids all had fun. Everybody got to grab a fish, and you can't ask for any more than that.
Man, no thanks. I just don't know if I could get through it. I mean, I just don't. I'm bad about sticking my hands in the corner of the couch, much less in a big old fish's mouth. Let me ask you this: will you kill this urban legend for me or whatever? I've always wondered because I hear different answers and mixed emotions. I was always taught, the 2 to 4 pound channel was the best eating, but is it still good eating for a big 30, 40 pound cat? I mean, or is there a difference?
Yeah, I like big flathead catfish. I really like it. The meat is kind of firm. It's a little denser than what you get on a standard catfish fillet. Channel cats, I'm good up to about 2 pounds, and after 2 pounds, they're a little too fishy for my taste. So I'll keep the smaller channel cats and release the bigger ones, and then the flatheads anywhere from 15 to 50 pounds. I really like them. And one good thing about the flatheads, and we'll be doing a recipe down the road using it, but their belly meat is completely different texture than standard catfish fillets. It's real dense, almost like lobster in texture, and you can cut that into chunks and toss it into, like if you're doing a crawfish boil with the Old Bay, with the Cajun seasoning in there. You can throw those chunks of belly meat in there and let them boil a little bit and bring them out and dip them in melted butter just like you would lobster. And they're super good that way. And we've got a recipe coming up that we'll do down the road a few weeks from now. And, we use some of that belly meat to make catfish jerky out of.
Oh, that sounds good.
Because it is so dense and heavy meat. It makes really good jerky on the smoker. So
we might have to corroborate with Pabst beef jerky and a new flavor coming out. Catfish beef belly.
Catfish, yeah.
Man, that's cool.
It's a different. It's a whole different taste, and it's a interesting way to eat catfish. That's for sure.
Well, if you're like me, you're on realtree.com/timber-2-table. And you're looking at wild game recipes. And right now I'm looking at the Thai-style drunken venison noodles, which looks absolutely incredible to me. But you've also got a roast here you're calling coffee braised venison roast.
Yeah.
That looks good.
Yeah, I posted that one today. And, I'm kind of a coffee junkie. I've got to have 5, 6 cups in the morning. And I'm pretty particular about my beans. I like to get them from local roasters, preferably ones that I know and know they do a good job. And grind their own there fresh every morning before we drop it into the coffee pot. And we've been using, there's a new coffee shop down in Apalachicola. And every time we're down there, we stock up on some of their stuff. And that's what I used in this recipe. You want to go, it uses coffee to start with. It's coffee and fire-roasted tomatoes and onions and some spices, some paprika, and a few other things. And you slow braise venison roast in it until it just falls apart. And you take the meat out of it, and you thicken that gravy, and you take a couple forks and shred that meat back up, put it back in that gravy, and serve it over mashed potatoes. It's a really great way to cook venison roast. But you want to use kind of a light to medium-bodied coffee, light roast, because that coffee flavor intensifies as it cooks. If you start out with a really dark roast, by the time you cook it down in the gravy, it's going to be a little bit too strong. The coffee's going to overpower the other flavors. So start out with a good light to medium roast. It's got just a little bit of brown sugar in it to kind of balance that coffee and balance those fire-roasted tomatoes. And like I say, you just you'll season up your venison roast, put a little bit of oil in the bottom of a Dutch oven, brown that roast really well all the way around, move it out, set it on a warm platter for a little while, put your sliced onions in there, get those kind of caramelized, put that roast back on, pour in your coffee, your tomatoes, all your seasonings, spices, put the lid on it, and put that in the oven for about 3 hours, and just let it slow braise. And when it comes out, that meat's just fall apart tender.
Oh, what kind of sides do you throw with that? Or you just eat it like you just eat it by itself?
My favorite way to do it is to serve it over mashed potatoes. Put down a big
like
pan of mashed potatoes and scoop that roast and gravy over the top of them. It's hard to beat that.
Sold. I'll tell you what, dude, that sounds so good. You remember Victor Maitland used coffee grounds for certain things, and Axel Foley broke that up and fixed that problem in Beverly Hills Cop, if you do remember. So
I've not watched Beverly Hills Cop in forever.
Man, what a good flick, though. Oh, my God. Victor Maitland, man, that guy was dirty. You could just tell he was not really an art dealer. I mean, there's no way. Man, I'll tell you what, looking forward to catching up with you next week. I want you to have a happy 4th. What are y'all's plans?
We're going to hang around. I think Cheryl, I think she's due to work this holiday. So when she gets off work, we'll probably load up and head into Lexington and watch fireworks, kind of stay socially distant, and just enjoy it.
Man, I'll tell you what, I appreciate it. And I wanted to even hear some more. That last week's story about the Boundary Waters was just so good. And I was going to see if you had anything that we didn't get to on that trip that you wish you could have shared last week. I'd love for you to share it now if you can think of a good. Because that thing that was awesome. Josh Honeycutt in the studio as well with us, Mike.
It was an absolutely just an awesome trip all the way around. The weather was perfect. You know, we had one night where it rained. One afternoon it rained for about 10 minutes, and then one night it rained off and on. But it was out of there by the time we woke up in the morning. But one of the fun parts about it is once you hit Duluth, Minnesota, you hang a hard right and you drive up to shore Lake Superior for 2 hours.
Oh, really?
And we Pyros and I kind of left the day early so we could do some exploring up there. And we stopped and we hiked back and saw some waterfalls that were really neat.
Oh, wow.
There's a famous lighthouse on Lake Superior called Split Rock that kind of sticks out into the lake. Up on the giant, really tall bluff. That was kind of neat to see.
Yeah.
Did a little bit of fishing in Lake Superior. Didn't do a lot of catching, but we can now both say that we've fished in Lake Superior. So
I mean, it's crazy how that looks like an ocean. I mean,
it does. It does. I mean, we stood there on a rock, looking, kind of up above the lake, looking way out over it, and looking through binoculars. Even through binoculars, you can't see land. It's just an immense body of water. It's crystal clear. It looks blue from up above, but you get down in it and the water's just absolutely crystal clear. Same way with all the boundary waters. Every lake we were in, we could see 25, 30 feet deep. To watch the fish swim around like being in a big aquarium.
Are most of those spring fed? I mean, because they're all pretty much natural bodies of water, right?
They're glacial lakes. They were formed, I think, by glaciers, all those eons ago. And most of them, it's all in the runoff. Snow runoff.
Gotcha.
Fills them up. And
wow.
I got a notice today where I'm still on the tips list from the outfitter, but it's really dry there. The water level was actually down for the time of year we were there, to the point that we had to be really careful with the shuttle boat with the outboard that took us way out into the boundary waters and put us out there where they couldn't have motors anymore. But the water was already low, and they said usually that was the level that it gets to in midsummer. So starting out that level, it's going to be maybe be an interesting summer for them. They might not. They said once in the 60-something years that they've been there, it got too low to run shuttle boats. And
really?
This year it might do it again.
Huh.
And I got a notice today saying that they had stopped allowing campfires because it was so dry.
Yeah.
So we hit it just right. We hit it right before the campfire ban. It had been in earlier in the year, and then they took it away so we could have fires while we were there. And then they turned right around and reinstated it today. So it is really dry up there, but hopefully they'll get a little bit of rain before summer and kind of fill them back up a little bit.
Well, listen, hats off to the Pendleys. Have a great day celebrating our independence, and try not to blow a finger off with an M80.
We'll try. Same to you guys.
All right, man. Michael Pendley, Timber to Table, brought to you by TetraHearing.com. Right now you can get on there. It's called the Freedom Cell. A big discount right now off this 60-level device with the code FREEDOM60. And that's a really big discount right there. Free shipping on offers over $75. Get your edge back. Tetra Hearing. We'll be right back with the Renegade Marine and Outdoor Fishing. So I've got John Newton on. And we'll see what he's been up to out of his big bass boat. Coming right back. SOKY's Great Outdoors, 102.7.
And McCarty's coming in from the bullpen with no warm-up. I cannot believe this. We've never seen a pitcher come to the mound without warming up. Let's see what happens. Whoa, that's a long one. Oh, and another. Whoa, that's 7 home runs this inning. If he would have only warmed up. In baseball, pitchers don't take the mound without warming up, so why would you take chances with your air conditioner when you need to cool down? Don't wait until it gets hot. Turn to the experts. Clean and service your unit today with Bowling Green Refrigeration, your authorized Carrier dealer. Bowling Green Refrigeration can service your Carrier unit and all other major units. Set up an appointment today, 270-782-5391. With a clean Carrier unit, there'll be no surprises this summer. Bowling Green Refrigeration. Your comfort is their concern.
Can you hear the hunt? You will with Tetra. Designed by hearing doctors and avid hunters, Tetra offers premium hearing enhancement and protection. Programmed for your specific hearing loss. Endpoint turkeys gobbling, the big bucks slipping behind you, or protect your ears in the duck blind. If you want your edge back, try Tetra risk-free for 30 days. Call now and mention SportsWeb and receive $100 off your order. 615-618-9904 or anytime at TetraHunt.com. Tetra isn't just hearing protection, it's hearing perfection.
When Poston Electronics opened in Bowling Green back in 1974, it sounded more like this.
Turn it up, man!
Now Poston is as legendary as the artists Southern Kentuckians pumped through the speakers they've bought there for the last 45 years. Poston is everything audio with top brands like JP Audio and Alpine. From home theaters, boats, motorcycles, side-by-sides, custom work, installation, service, or sales, Poston still has the sound. Turn it up, man. Poston Electronics, across from Firestone on Broadway Avenue.
Your friends at Kentucky 811 want you to know that due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we are experiencing very long hold times when you call 811. Avoid the wait and click before you dig. 811now.com is the faster way to submit an 811 request. Simply visit 811now.com, fill in the online form, and wait 2 full business days for your utilities to be located. Know what's below before you dig. This message brought to you by Kentucky 811.
It's time to go fishing with Renegade Marine and Outdoor Center, 415 Commerce Drive, Litchfield, Kentucky, on SOKY's Great Outdoors.
Thanks for coming on back. Southern Kentucky's Great Outdoors, Linex Hotline, Linex Bedliners, Roger, Gina Cowan over there on Louisville Road, Porter Pike intersection. Get over there. Protect the bed of that truck. And I tell you what, you can get something to pull behind that bad boy. Pretty new bass boat or a new pontoon, Bennington. They've got them all up there. Avalon. They got the Nitros, the Rangers. Good stuff. But I got the man who can get that done for you, John Newton. What's up, brother?
Not a whole lot, Brian Webb. What are you up to this evening, bud?
Well, I'm just, I'll be honest with you, I'm a little bit off my game, and I was hoping John Newton could save me, and I got Josh in the studio. I know he's going to save me the last half, but some days you just ain't got it, John, you know?
Oh, yeah. I run into that every now and again. You get that just, I'm out of gas. And it happens. I mean, it happens to all of us.
Yes, it does, my friend. Well, before we jump into all the success that's happened at Renegade over the last 90 days, let's talk about you. You've been working so much, you didn't get to pre-fish, but then you come out on a weekend bass tournament and win the thing. Now, how'd you manage that?
Well, one of the things I learned from an old gentleman several years ago when I got into tournament fishing when I was about 16 years old, he told me, he said, one of the best things you can do, he said, every day you go out and fish, it doesn't matter what you do or how you do it. When you get home, you write down what the wind conditions were, what the water condition was, what the water temperature was, what bait you threw, what bait you caught fish on. So I've got notebooks that go back about 30 years now.
Wow.
And on these tournaments that I don't get to pre-fish, I'll flip back through these notebooks and I'll look and say, okay, this is what the weather's supposed to be. And I'll find these conditioned days in that particular month and kind of put together a game plan with areas where I caught fish in the past and, new areas that I found in pre-fishing and just kind of run a pattern that way. And some days it will pay off, just like, weekend before last, it paid off for me and Scott Robbins over at Nolan, and we started on our primary spot, but I figured that's where I was going to catch them. We caught 5 little old no-lens squeakers, which is about 8 1/4 pounds for 5 15-inch fish. And then we went hunting for some bigger fish, got on a secondary area that we normally wouldn't fish, broke out the old Johnny jig. It's what we call a little brownie, and little brownie went to work. It's a custom-made jig that me and Scott make, and we had 2 4-pounders on back-to-back casts, lost 2 3-pounders on back-to-back casts, and then did some upgrading of some 15-inch fish to 17-inch fish. We hit right at 15 pounds, and, we had a good day. I mean, it turned out to be a real good day.
Man, it could have been a really good day. Them 2 3-pounders would have stayed in there.
Yeah, and that's what I told Scott. I said, but I looked at Scotty, and I said, Scotty, I said, let me tell you something, brother. I said, I've been doing this a long time. You've been doing a long time with me. I guess me and Scott's been fishing tournaments now going on, I'm going to say right at 15 years now.
Wow.
And I told him, I said, that's the difference between fishing and catching. I said, because if everybody was a catching, nobody'd be out fishing.
That's about the truth, man. And I tell you, and thanks for that story. It reminded me, I don't know if you ever, I know you know who my father is, but I had an uncle named Ronnie Webb, and man, I tell you, he was as good as any of these Webb boys. that I grew up fishing under, but he did the exact same thing. He's got, and I can't find him. I've wanted to find him. He passed away at 53 years young, and I have no idea where he kept them, so I never have been able to find them. But I'd love to get my hands on them. Same thing, and he did the exact same thing, and that's the way to do it if you've got the discipline to get home and do that. I mean, it like you said, it pays off, don't it?
Oh, it does, and I'll be honest with you, Brian, your Uncle Lonnie, I knew him very well. He was actually this was back in my early days when I first started tournament fishing. I actually run into him in Red Rock one day, and I knew of the Webb boys, your dad, him, and just talking with them, and run into Ronnie back here one day, and this was on right before 4th of July weekend. He was off from work. He'd done his bus route, and he was off from work, and he was out there fishing. And I got out there and got to talking with him sitting back in there, and he looked at me, and he said, John, he said, I'm going to tell you one thing. He said, you keep this in the back of your mind. He said, but this time of the year, he said, this is the best bait in the world to throw. He said, this is the only color to throw. And he lobbed a old crankbait over at my boat, and I've been over and picked it up, and it was old Tennessee shad, colored DD22. He said, in the month of June and July, he said, that's all a man needs to throw.
Man, that's awesome. Made my heart flutter a little bit talking about Uncle Ronnie. He was a great guy, a manager at Holly for many, many years, and retired, and adopted a young man up there, and got a bus route and just fished as much as he could, and painted the church a lot and did those kind of things. Great man, great story. Let's talk about another great man, Sherbert Van Meter up there, man. You guys have been absolutely turning and burning, and it's just it's almost caught up to where now the pipeline is so broken from all the COVID-19 that you're able to get it. It's going to be a little while, right, if there's a custom situation. But you got some new boats on the lot right now if somebody's really wanting to get one.
All reality, I've got 2 brand new Avalon Tri-Tunes. I've got 2 Bennington Tri-Tunes, 3 Bennington fishing models, and 1 Sun Tracker fishing model. And that is all the new pontoons we have in stock right now.
Holy cow.
We normally keep 220 pontoons in stock, and we are down to bare minimum. We're down to about 9 pontoons left.
Unbelievable. There's a lot of people on the water with a smile right now, I guarantee you.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of people on the water with a smile, Sherbert likes to say. But, and you're right. I mean, the pipeline's been broken. This COVID has really put a hamper on the process of how the aluminum's being made, to all the way down to the people sewing the seats together and forming the seats and getting them to the factories. And I mean, this pipeline, there's a big rift in there. And with this rift that's going on right now, before we will see any new product, and that's from Bennington, Avalon, Sun Tracker, Ranger, any of our suppliers, new product, it'll be end of August, 1st of September before we see any kind of new boats coming in.
That's amazing, because usually this time of year, John, y'all are rolling out the 2021s or the next year's stock. I mean, so that's not happening either, right?
No. I mean, and that's one of the things with the new stock. I got in a 20-foot fishing barge the other day. Well, as a matter of fact, it was yesterday I got it in. And it was a 2021 model, but it was a custom order boat that I'd ordered back when the COVID first started. So it has taken them this long to get things back up and running. Most of the factories are only running on about 30%. So, I mean, and that's like we're getting a lot of calls right now from customers. I need this from Mercury. I need this from Yamaha. I need this from Sun Tracker. I'm needing this from Ranger. I'm needing this. And the only thing that we can tell a lot of the customers, and I know they're tired of us saying it, but, I mean, it's one of those things that it's beyond our control.
Yeah.
Things are not up and running back to full max at 100%. So there are a lot of things that are on back order that have been ordered for, months. But with this COVID, and then the factories opening, they're only running at 30%. So they don't have the manpower. They don't have the capacity right now to kick out and produce what they were doing, before this COVID started.
Unbelievable. Before we let you go, man, and I think you've been on No Land in the last week and a half or two. How's the lake up there, and what would you recommend going after them? I heard the night bite. I've heard from 2 people the night bite was bad. I've heard from 2 people that it was okay. So you never know, but what would you suggest?
Well, right now, I mean, the water's jumped up. I think No Wind's pushing right at 6 feet over Summer Pool.
Got 5 inches of rain.
With that pretty rain we had on Sunday that dropped 7.7 inches of rain in the area.
Unbelievable.
But, one of the things, even like right now, if people are going to be out this holiday weekend, or if you're going to be out at night, one thing to keep in mind is that the daytime people are pushing the debris to the bank. And when you're out there in the evenings, that debris, as they're pulling the water back down, will float away from the bank. So be super, super cautious. Be super careful when you're out there running around at nighttime to kind of watch for floating debris. And, and a lot of this debris, once it gets waterlogged, it might not float completely to the top. So it could be submerged 2 or 3 inches below the water. And that will make a bad night if you run a 250 horsepower Mercury. Yeah, I mean, lower unit's $7,000 to replace. I mean, guys, if you're out there running around, be very cautious. Very cautious.
That's a great
But, I mean, like you said, the night bite itself, it just depends on which end of the lake and what hour that you're fishing. I've talked to 2 or 3 guys that are saying they're catching, 14, 15, 16-pound bags in the evening. I've talked to some guys that's been on the lower end up towards Black that says they're not catching anything. Yeah. So a lot of it, is just area related. Deeper water areas down towards Moody Deer, around towards Red Rock Canalaway area seems to be producing better than up towards the Wax area.
John Newton, everybody, Renegade Marine and Outdoor Center, 415 Commerce Drive, right there off the Parkway in beautiful Litchfield, Kentucky. You can get a hold of John 270-259-0001 and renegademarine.net online. John Newton, you're the best.
All right, Brian, y'all be careful. We'll hard.
Have a happy 4th and try not to lose the finger, all right?
Only thing I'm hoping to lose is the traffic in my tail lights headed to North Carolina to see my daughter.
Well, have a safe drive, my friend.
All right, Brian, y'all be careful, and we'll haul at y'all next time.
Thank you, John. Get up there, Renegade Marine and Outdoor Center. Coming right back. We're going to have John Kirby on here towards the end of the hour, about 20 till. But before that, Brian Webb is going to get to interview Josh Honeycutt. First time this has ever happened. I've always wanted to do it. Tonight it lined up. So he's going to be on the hot seat over there with the old Mush Webb firing questions at him. When we come back on Southern Kentucky's Great Outdoors during the Big and J Long Range Attractant Hunting segment, 102.7.
Gary Force Paint and Body Shop stands with Southern Kentucky in this pandemic because they know if you've ever driven in Bowling Green, you can survive anything. A natural name change? I just don't see a one there. It's just I-6, an entire Fountain Square renovation. Oh, there's a spot. Park over there. And, of course, the roundabout.
Hey, I think I finally got this whole roundabout thing down.
We made it through that, and we'll make it through this. Together. Gary Force Paint and Body Shop, Bowling Green's iCar Gold certified body shop that works with all major insurance. Behind the post office on Vanderbilt Drive.
Okay, gun owners, listen up. You love to shoot, so you have to check out Tetra. Don't settle for big, hot, uncomfortable earmuffs or foam plugs. Developed by 2 hearing doctors, Tetra Alpha Shield is the best sounding, most comfortable, and easiest to use, period. Tetra is more than a hearing protection, it's hearing perfection. Get your edge back, try Tetra risk-free for 30 days. Call now and mention SportsWeb and receive $100 off your order. 615-618-9904 or anytime at tetrahunt.com.
Not all spray-in is created equal. For example, spray-in honey. Why are all these bees following me? Or maybe spray-in tanning.
Hey, you missed a spot there on your face. Oh, that's bad.
See Line-X Bowling Green for spray-in bed liners and Line-X truck gear. It's the next level of complete tough gear for your truck. B&W gooseneck hitches, toolboxes, step bars, and WeatherTech doormats. Gift cards now available. Easy, affordable, and rugged. Line-X. Check out more at linexbowlinggreen.com.
When Postal Electronics opened in Bowling Green back in 1974, it sounded more like this.
Turn it up, man!
Now hosting is as legendary as the artist Southern Kentuckians pumped through the speakers they've bought there for the last 45 years. Hosting is everything audio with top brands like JP Audio and Alpine. From home theaters, boats, motorcycles, side-by-sides, custom work, installation, service, or sales, Ostin still has the sound. Turn it up, man. Ostin Electronics, across from Firestone on Broadway Avenue.
I haven't seen my grandmother dance like that. Wait a second. I haven't seen anybody dance like that since I watched my grandmother dance.
I love her already. I've never even met her. If she can get down and hold down like that, man, I love her.
Man, she moves them feet faster than anybody I've ever seen.
Oh, that's great. Josh Honeycutt, everybody, Realtree Outdoors, amongst many other hunting columns out there that you can read online. He's really good at it, and I get to take a few minutes tonight and interview Josh, and I've always wanted to have him mano a mano, one-on-one. I don't know if that's even a word, but I've always wanted to be belly button to belly button with him and talk to him. And Josh, we're going to start here. Barron County boy, born and reared right here in the great state of Kentucky. Man, I'll tell you, what's your first memory of a dew-lit morning heading out on your first hunt? What's your first memory?
Well, my earliest deer hunting memory, I guess I wasn't actually hunting myself. My father and one of his cousins brought a deer back to the house, and I saw it in the back of the truck. That's the first, hunting-related memory that I have. I don't know how old I was, but I was pretty young. But I guess my actual first hunt myself, even though I wasn't actually hunting then either, was I went to the woods with my dad. He had his real bow. I had my bow with the little suction cup arrows, and we went hunting. But I was young then, and fortunately I graduated to a little bit better weapons, and got a little better at it over the years. And but that's probably the first memory that I have actually in the woods.
Out of all the weapons that you just alluded to, out of all those, what was your favorite at a young age? Was it muzzleloader? Was it a bow? Or was it a rifle? Well, what was your favorite?
Well, like most people, I started out gun hunting with a rifle. Since then, I've harvested deer with rifles, muzzleloaders, bows. Most of the legal weapons out there. Never a slingshot. You could
probably get it done.
I tell you, I would like to try it with an atlatl sometime.
All right, I don't even know what an atlatl is.
It's kind of like a spear.
Oh, okay. We'll go back to the spot 300.
Hardcore caveman.
That's pretty cool. Well, that brings me to my next question. I've always wondered, little things that we don't know about Josh. We know how excellent of a hunter he is, what a great rider he is, and another great rider, Casey, in the room with us, so he can respect that as well. And I respect it a lot because being a wordsmith is not something everybody is born with, and you're really good at that, Josh. I've read lots of your columns, great stories that you put out. But when we're talking about stuff like that, media, what's a Josh movie? Like, what did you grow up? Did you like movies? And if so, what's your favorite movie of all time? Yeah,
I like movies. I guess as a kid, one of my favorites was Davy Crockett.
That's a pretty good one.
Yeah,
goes all the way to the Alamo.
Oh yeah.
And Jim Bowie, is it Jim Bowie who was with him? The Bowie knife comes from that man, and he grew up in Russellville, Kentucky.
Did not know that.
That's pretty good little tidbit there. The more you know. Good stuff. So, awesome. All right. In fact, that's your favorite movie, and that's a good one. I do know which one you're talking about. Let's talk about this. Growing up genre, song-wise, were you into rock, country, gospel? What'd you like?
Man, I'm the rainbow when it comes to that. I love rock, classic rock. I grew up listening to a lot of classic rock. Modern rock's good. I'm not much of a heavy metal guy. It's not my jam. But I like some country music, like pop. Gospel's pretty good, depending on the specific genre. I like a little bit of everything.
Favorite country music artist?
Gotta be. It's hard to It's hard to narrow that down, but it almost has to be George Strait.
Ooh, I like it. What's your favorite George Strait song?
I don't have one.
You
There's
don't?
too many to choose from.
Said I loved her till it died. No, I'm not gonna song it. I like she's hotter than a $2 pistol.
Picking one of George's songs over the rest of them would almost be halfway blasphemous.
That is blasphemous. I agree with that. My boss Darren would love that right there because he's a big George Strait guy for sure. How much time we got here, Case?
We got about 3.
Yeah, got about 2 or 3 minutes. Let's wrap it up. All right, so bucket list, hunting bucket list, and I'm sure you've enjoyed some pretty cool hunts in the continental U.S. I know that. I've heard a lot about some of them. What's a bucket list you haven't hunted that you would love to do?
Yeah, I've been fortunate to go all over the United States and even into Canada hunting deer, hunting whitetails and mule deer. I've hunted turkeys all over the country as well, but or not all over the country, but in quite a few states. But I would say if I had to pick a few bucket list hunts, the number one would for sure be Rocky Mountain elk. Somewhere up and down the Rocky Mountain range. Number two would for sure be a moose hunt somewhere in Canada. There's several locations that I would have a hard time picking from. But number three would probably be a caribou hunt, and that's actually probably the first one that I'll do because that's it's a little more economically attainable. And really, I don't know. Probably of those three, I'll probably do the caribou hunt first.
Man, that's great. I love it. I got about a minute left. I'm going to ask you 2 things, and you can answer them simultaneously almost. Favorite tractor? If you could have any tractor out there right now delivered to your front door at the farm, what would that tractor be? And same as truck, car / what would be your favorite go-get-'em truck if you could just pick one and it'd show up the next day?
Man, half of my family, both sides of my family are farmers, and one side are hardcore John Deere, and the other side's hardcore Massey. So I guess I would have one delivered. The right side would be painted green, and the left side would be painted red.
I love it. All right, man. Truck to get it done. If you got to pick anyone for all your hunting, all your business that you do.
I've been a Chevy man for quite a while.
Praise the Lord. I'm a Chevy. You know what FORD stands for, don't you? Mm-hmm. I'm probably better not to say. Come on now. Folks, don't go anywhere. We're coming back with the Big and J Long Range Attractants Swagger Bipod Hunting segment, which also will feature Josh Honeycutt, and we'll get John Kirby on the Line X hotline. Josh, thanks for doing that, man. That was fun.
Yeah, thank you, man.
We'll be right back. 102.7.
When Poston Electronics opened in Bowling Green back in 1974, it sounded more like this.
Turn it up, man.
Now Poston is as legendary as the artists Southern Kentuckians hummed through the speakers they've bought there for the last 45 years. Poston is everything audio with top brands like JP Audio and Alpine. From home theaters, boats, motorcycles, side-by-sides, custom work, installation, service, or sales, Poston still has the sound. Turn it up, man. Poston Electronics, across from Firestone on Broadway Avenue.
So what's the deal with Big Green Egg Grills? Mike Keith here, letting you know if you're looking to grill, smoke, or bake on the highest quality grill out there, you need to see Bowling Green Fireplace and Grill. They have the Big Green Egg, #1 for over 25 years and with good reason. With a lifetime warranty and best-in-class ceramics, this thing is awesome. There are no chemicals in Big Green Egg Lump Charcoal. And Bowling Green Fireplace and Grill has the best price in town, just off the bridge on Old Louisville Road. BowlingGreenFireplace.com.
Can you hear the hunt? You will with Tetra. Designed by hearing doctors and avid hunters, Tetra offers premium hearing enhancement and protection. Programmed for your specific hearing loss. Endpoint turkeys gobbling, the big bucks slipping behind you, or protect your ears in the duck blind. If you want your edge back, try Tetra risk-free for 30 days. Call now and mention SportsWeb and receive $100 off your order. 615-618-9904 or anytime at TetraHunt.com. Tetra isn't just hearing protection, it's hearing perfection.
Not all spray-in is created equal. For example, spray-in honey. Why are all these bees following me? Or maybe spray-in tanning.
Hey, you missed a spot there on your face. Oh, that's bad.
See Line X Bowling Green for spray-in bed liners and Line X truck gear. It's the next level of complete tough gear for your truck. B&W Gooseneck hitches, toolboxes, step bars, and WeatherTech door mats. Gift cards now available. Easy, affordable, and rugged. Line X. Check out more at linexbowlinggreen.com.
Welcome back to Southern Kentucky's Great Outdoors, everybody. We're going to get John on the Line X hotline, but we're going to go ahead and get started here with Josh Honeycutt. Josh, what kind of topics you got tonight, buddy?
Yeah, it's July 1st, and deer season is going to be knocking on the door. It's soon enough. You know, it's only, really and truthfully, it's only about 2 months away, a little over 2 months away. So, you know, we do have finalized season dates for this fall and winter. And right now we're looking at a September 5th opener for the archery season. It's going to run September 5th through January 18th. Crossbow season is going to open up on September 19th and run through January 18th. Youth-only gun season is going to be October 10th through the 11th. Early muzzleloader is set for October 17th to 18th. And late muzzleloader is going to be December 12th to 20th. Then we obviously have our free youth weekend on December 26th through the 27th. And then the big one that everybody's looking forward to, modern gun season is set for November 14th to November 29th. And that is a little bit later than we typically see. Generally, we have a little bit earlier opener. But, you know, it's a few days later this year. And, you know, that brings us to our topic of the day, which is, should we be rifle hunting during the rut? John, are you there?
I'm there, buddy.
I tell you, I know there's few people out there more. We've talked about it a lot together on the show that are more opinionated than you and I when it comes to deer hunting topics. What are your thoughts when it comes to rifle hunting during the rut?
Yeah, you know, I guess selfishly, as somebody who loves to bow hunt as much as I do, I would love to see a change there where our modern rifle season wasn't right smack dab in the rut. I don't know whether that be a change of dates or whether that be a little bit of a change of weapon, kind of doing like how Ohio does with shotgun or straight wall cartridges. I'd love to see something like that implemented personally.
Yeah, and you know, there's a lot of mixed feelings out there. I'm with you in a lot of ways, and but I understand both sides of it, just like you understand both sides of it.
Right.
You know, I love to deer hunt with both guns and bows. You know, I personally don't have a huge bias one way or the other when it comes to that topic, but there are pros and cons to both, and there are definitely arguments for both sides of that. You know, but you know, when it comes to that, you know, there's definitely a good argument for the bow hunters. You know, what are some some pros? What are some good things that might come from something like that happening, from maybe pulling the gun season out of the rut for a year or so?
Yeah, I mean, I think instantly short term, you know, obviously it would save a lot of deer's lives. You know, obviously. Quite a few hunters, and again, like you said, Josh, I have nothing against gun hunters. I gun hunt myself. But the fact is, if you took that 2-3 week season out of the rut there, a lot of guys just wouldn't probably whitetail hunt that year because of family and jobs and whatever else, and I get that. So it would save a lot of deer lives in the short term, and you know, it would allow that, obviously, that the archery season to kind of continue through the rut. And you wouldn't have to compete with all the pressure that comes with the gun hunters.
Yeah, you know, that's one of the arguments there for bow hunters. You know, anyone who wants to increase deer density or increase the buck age structure should definitely consider an archery only or at least a limited gun season during the rut. Many studies have determined that bucks significantly increase their home ranges during the rut, which exposes them to more encounters with deer hunters. You know, from September to October, the average home range of a big woods deer or a Kentucky deer is going to be somewhere from, you know, 500 to 600, 700 acres, somewhere in that range, with an average around 650. But, you know, come November, that changes drastically. And for some deer, not every buck has the personality type to increase their home range, but a lot of them do. And it can increase up there to around 1,500 or 2,000 acres for their home range. So that opens them up to more likelihood of a deer dying.
Right.
and something that, again, that's one of the things. Those are some of the pros, when it comes to pulling the gun season out of the rut, likely to never happen here in Kentucky. So it's kind of a moot point for us. There's not been any big major shifts in deer season regulations like that for just about any state in probably more than a decade. Big fixture season dates like that, they change a little bit from year to year, but there's not been any big changes in for forever, just about, at least again in the last decade. Yeah,
Josh, that's a great point. As long as I've been hunting, I think this is my 31st year hunting whitetails in Kentucky. And I can never remember a modern gun season opening any time other than that second weekend in November. Now, the length of the season has changed a little bit here and there, but it's always been that same time. You're exactly right.
Yeah, and there's argument for the other side of it, too, keeping the gun season during the rut. I know in Kentucky, it's a lot of it boils down to tradition and heritage, and Kentucky has a heritage of gun hunting during the rut, and likely to never relinquish that heritage by the majority or by the those who set policy. But there are reasons to keep it there. Obviously, Kentucky has had a good, steady harvest, good, steady statewide deer population, steady hunter numbers throughout the last decade or so. All of those have been on. While some of those have declined a little bit here and there, we still have pretty solid numbers across the board when you look at the important stats. So, if you pulled the gun season out of the rut, you would see a big decrease in hunter numbers. You would see a vast increase in deer population. Some areas that's not a good thing because the populations are already at capacity. Other places could stand an increase in deer population, in my opinion, and could definitely see a stand an increase in buck age structure. But obviously, we're armchair quarterbacks when it comes to this stuff. We're not the biologists in the trenches or anything like that. And they have a lot of things to balance because they're trying to manage both deer and deer hunters, and that's no easy feat.
Yeah, absolutely. Good point, Josh. And like you said, Kentucky Fish and Wildlife, they do a great job. They've been doing this for a lot longer than you and I have. And like you said, numbers are great. I think if they were going to change it, it would just create so much more work. I think you'd have to go in and kind of subcategorize these counties even more so than they already have with the zones that we're in, to make sure that adjacent counties didn't get too many deer harvested. So I think we'll just create a whole lot of headache if you try to really kind of micromanage it that way.
Yeah, there are some myths out there when it comes to gun hunting during the rut. Some people out there try to say that having a bunch of modern firearm hunters out there right in the middle of the rut, right in the middle of the breeding season, can kind of disrupt things and make things not so in sync, and that it can kind of disrupt those being conceiving, and can delay the rut and prolong the rut. But the research actually suggests that gun hunting does not disrupt the whitetail rut at all, and does not impact the actual time frame of which does end up conceiving and each fall. There's a lot of good research down in the southern part of the world in the Pelican State. And if you don't know where the Pelican State is, you look it up. That's something for you to Google. But some really good research came out of there in the last 5 years or so to prove that gun hunting during the rut doesn't actually negatively impact deer as far as the rut goes.
It might negatively impact perceived rut as far as what you're seeing in daylight hours. Josh, as we know, the weather can often do that. Warm weather, people kind of be like, we're not seeing a rut this year when the majority of it's happening after dark. I would say that kind of goes both ways with gun hunting pressure also.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that pretty well puts a bow on that topic, but is there anything else you'd like to share when it comes to weapon choices and how they might impact season dates, the rut?
Yeah, no, not really. I did preface what I first said with, I'm being selfish by saying what I said, and that's true. I'm not hoping they change the dates, or I'm not out there trying to get them changed. I think by and large, Kentucky Fish and Wildlife does a heck of a job managing this whitetail herd here in Kentucky. They know better than I do, and they're doing a fantastic job at it. So what do I know?
Yeah, me too. Again, I'm just some guy with an opinion. It's worth about 2 cents. But we started out the segment talking about season dates, and we kind of went through because we've got some finalized dates. Everyone, make sure you go to the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife Resources page to confirm, because those can have changed in the past. I think they're finalized now, so I think what we aired just a little bit ago is going to stick and be the same. But we talked about how that modern gun season is just a hair later this year than it typically is. It doesn't start and kick off until November 14th this time around, and that's a bit later than normal.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's the latest it can be, right? It's the second full weekend of November, so it's later than we had. I think it was the 11th last year. You know, a lot of times it's the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, something like that. That gives the bow hunters a little more time to get in the woods there. Kind of before that big rush of the Orange Army. And again, not that I have anything against that, because I participate in it.
Yeah.
But it is nice, to hunt deer that aren't quite as pressured.
Yeah, I mean, so there's some years where we see a gun season start somewhere around November 8th, 9th, 10th, and, I am no prophet by any means, but I'm expecting a decreased harvest this year during the rifle season. Now, that may end up being entirely incorrect. May not be true, may not end up being the case. But starting that late, when you look at Kentucky's historical breeding dates, peak breeding dates, peak conception dates with the does, that's going to be right around the heart of the lockdown. So you're not. I don't know that we're going to see as much cruising action by mature bucks as we typically do. Going to see it from the young bucks probably. But what are your thoughts on that? How do you think that opening weekend, just not knowing the weather, not knowing any of the other variables, but just purely looking at that November 14th, 15th start date for the rifle and modern gun season, what's your thoughts on on that going to be?
Yeah, I think mature buck harvest will be down a little bit. Like you said, Josh, being later like that, a lot of these mature deer are going to be in lockdown. And you're not going to see, like you said, the big mature bucks up on their feet because they're going to be locked down with does for 24, 48 hours. I think a lot of good deer will be killed that second weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, and that's a good point too. The closing date, obviously, if the start date's later, the closing date's going to be later, and we go through November 29th this year. And if you look at the record books, the Boone and Crockett records, you will find that a lot of the top end deer, not just the record book deer, but the best of the best, the biggest of the biggest. A lot of those are taken those last few days of November. So whereas we normally don't get to hunt that period during rifle season, we will this year. So if you don't get that buck the first half of gun season this year, stick it out and stay with it, because you might just get a crack at a big one, towards the latter portion of November.
Exactly, and this too, Josh, would give some folks that are probably from Kentucky that don't get a chance to hunt Kentucky a lot, but they'll be back into Thanksgiving holiday, which usually is not during our modern gun season, but you might have some guys getting in Kentucky hunting for the first time in quite a few years as well.
Yeah, absolutely. For our gun hunters out there, what's your top advice, top tips for our gun hunters here in Kentucky who aren't going to be getting out in September and sweating like you and I will be with our bows in hands? They're not going to get out there and actually do any deer hunting until November 14th. What's your advice for them between then and now?
Man, I would say if you're not going to get in there and bow hunt, don't get in there, period, really, and mess things up. Leave those deer unpressured, run some cameras, kind of keep tabs and inventory on those bucks. But, there's a big advantage in some ways to guys that don't hunt archery that are just getting in the woods for the first time in November, because a lot of times they're hunting properties that they just have permission to hunt, and they're hunting completely unpressured deer.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I'm fortunate to hunt several properties here in South Central Kentucky, mostly by permission. There's one that is a lease, and the one that I lease is with a couple of family members. And it's interesting because we don't touch that farm until gun season. And come that time, while they're all just as equally as good, on paper, it's always better during the rut because we haven't pressured it.
Right.
So that's absolutely a great point. and definitely worth noting. If you're not going to be deer hunting in September, October, don't be in there messing around, walking around, spooking deer, being the boogeyman. That's just going to hurt your chances come November.
Exactly.
John Kirby on the Line X hotline. Man, it's so weird to have you on the Line X hotline, but it sounded so good, man, and I appreciate you.
Yeah, man. Sorry I didn't answer the first time around, buddy. I didn't realize you were calling. Got some foot issues going on, and I lost track of time and what day it was, man.
Well, you can just go ahead and tell everybody. I forgot to call you today and confirm what time we'd be calling you, so that's your producer's fault.
Hey,
not
man.
Casey, the other producer.
Stuff happens, brother.
Oh, man, appreciate you. And Josh, always do it right. Have a happy 4th, you and the kids, man. Teresa, and we'll see you next Wednesday, buddy.
Absolutely. You guys do the same.
Good stuff. John Kirby right there. Josh Honeycutt, the meat of this show. And I'll tell you what, we're lucky to have him. Josh, I don't know if you want to show your Chevy truck. But KOA Car Show's coming up, benefiting the VFW Auxiliary. Registration starts at 8. That's July the 11th, Josh.
Well,
and go ahead.
I don't know if my truck would do well. How many points do they subtract per dent and scratch?
I know there's got to be a whole category for that, so you might actually take that.
I'll probably end up with a negative score.
There is a rat ride class that might do it. And then you've got truck class, hot rod class, classic 79 and earlier. And then you've got a new class 80 to the present. There will be trophies and plaques for each car. They're judged by car owners and people. So if you gotta want to hear more about this, call James York, 270-492-5099. It's a $20 entry fee. James York, 270-492-5099. Out at the KOA where we have our Fishing for Mentors. Great people out there. Yvonne Gold, nobody's better. Bobby Waddle gave me the information, so hope everybody joins it. If you got a classic, a rat rod or a hot rod, get over there, or a sweet truck. Registration's at 8, and that is benefiting VFW Auxiliary. Josh, thanks, buddy. Great show.
Thanks, man.
You guys saved us all tonight. We'll be back next week. Casey Warner on the board. Have a happy and safe 4th of July from everybody here at SOKY's Great Outdoors on ESPN 102.7.